Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. A very warm welcome to the Strategic Business Leader Webinar to Success. I am your tutor Kashif Kamran, and this webinar is for September 2022 exams, and today is the day 2 of this webinar. Now, the agenda for the day 2 is important. That is to look into the March-June 22 paper, and that is exactly the same agenda for the third day as well, the March-June 22 paper. Now, both the days of the webinar, day 2 and day 3, are extremely important, as I will be sharing with you some very important tips and techniques of how you go about doing the paper. And more importantly, a critical analysis of the marking scheme, a look inside the examiner report, and the do's and don'ts which the students should focus on ahead of their exams on Tuesday. So let's start to investigate the March-June 22 paper. This discussion will be broken down into 2 sessions, day 2 and day 3. Primarily, the way we write the answer, and primarily the insights from the examiner report will come on the day 3. Today, I will be spending time more on reading and planning of the case study, and more about professional marks, and the insights on professional marks comes today. Okay, let's open the day 2 then of the webinar to success for SBL September 22 exams, and this is what we will be discussing today. A drill inside the March-June 22 paper. The look inside the paper, reading and planning time, because that's the most crucial part where I need to focus on today. I believe that the investment a student will do in the reading and planning time, or the investment the student do in the first 60 minutes of the exam time, is worthwhile, because that effort will set the launching pad for you to write a good answer, or that 1 hour of investment will set the launching pad towards your success in the SBL exam. Now, that 1 hour really matters, and what you do inside that 1 hour will really determine your success or failure in the upcoming SBL exam. So I need to be very critical of that 1 hour of reading and planning time today, and then the writing time and exactly how you write, what you should be thinking when you're writing, and a critical analysis of the examiner report comes on the day 3, the final day of this webinar. More importantly, I'll be looking into the critical analysis of the examiner report more into the day 3 than day 2, but I will be showing you and encouraging you that how critical examiner reports are for determining your success in the upcoming exams, and the marking scheme, because again, even though the marking scheme for SBL is pretty clear, but still the student tends to get confused between a 1 mark situation and a 2 mark situation. So let's see if we can find some clarity on that area. So let's open the practice platform. Let's open the March-June 22 paper, and let's start to investigate how would you be going about a paper in SBL real exam context. Okay, let me share with you the practice platform in front of your screen. Can you all see the practice platform in front of your screen? Please confirm that. Okay, great. So if you can all see the practice platform, you have in front of your screen the March-June 22 exams. I hope you can see that. I've just highlighted that in blue, and that's what we are looking for today, the March-June 22 exams. Okay, so let's start the proceeding. I might be putting my camera off just to ensure that the screen is visible in full to all of you, and whatever I am explaining doesn't get distracted. So wherever I have a need, I will be putting my camera off, but you can still hear me. Now, try to understand the first 60 minutes of your exam time is the most critical. And what you get out of the first 60 minutes is very important. The output of the first 60 minutes is very critical. Now, that's what I need to discuss today. I have a 2-hour stretch today, In exam, you have 60 minutes, but because I'm discussing with you, I'm guiding you, I'm telling you this is what you have to do, and brainstorming things with you. So I'm, instead of taking 60 minutes, I'm taking 120 minutes. That's the whole session today, just to guide you what exactly is the end result of a reading and planning time, and what exactly you need to do inside a reading and planning time, because I believe that's the critical success vector. So I'll just be using my Word file on and off. I hope you can see that on your screen, the day 2 Word file, which I will be sharing with you. Everything are right here. So don't just copy anything from here. It comes to you. Just concentrate. Now, on the day 2, we are first looking at reading and planning. Sorry, attempting a paper, attempting a SBL paper, and we have 4 hours. Now, this is to be divided into 2 parts. The 2 parts of your 4-hour approach. Number 1, we have a reading and planning time, which is equal to 60 minutes. And then we have the writing time, which is also known as the reflection time, which is worth 180 minutes. Now, we need to break this into 2 parts. And that's exactly what you are doing in the actual exam, right? 60 and 180. Now, today we are looking at the 60, and we are trying to get the best definition of the 60 minutes in the SBL exam context. Now, let's take the best insights. Let's take the insights of what a student should do inside the first 60 minutes. Let's make a summary of that. And this first 60 minutes is known as the reading and planning time. And in the short is known as RAPT. So let's start to look into this. The insights of what the student should do in the first 60 minutes and how crucial that could be for a student's success in the SBL paper. Let's start to interrogate that. Now, whatever I discuss with you, I'll try making a summary of that. So at the end of the day, you can get a checklist of the first 60 minutes. Let's start the exercise. Okay, back to the practice platform. Now, when you open your exam screen, there are 2 sides of the exam screen, right? The right side of the exam screen and the left side of the exam screen. Now, the right side of the exam screen is the introduction, which is just making a mindset. And the left-hand side of the screen we know is critical because it contains exhibits where you have bulk of information from which you need to, from which you will be writing your answer. Then you have the task, which are the requirements, what you need to do. And then you have the response options. Response options consist of the word processor, you have the Excel spreadsheet, and you have the slides. But when you are reading the task, you will exactly come to know which of the response options will you be using. Now, the very first minute of your exam time, 60 minutes, I think 2 minutes maximum, should be spent here. Look at this one, this area in blue on the right-hand side of the screen. Out of the 60 minutes, the first 2 minutes should be spent here, because this will just help you understand what you will be going through in the next 58 minutes. Let's read the screen on the right and let's understand who we are in the context of this case study. Throughout this case study, your role is an external consultant working for the Tran Art consultant, providing a report and other documents as required. So examiner is making it very clear that throughout this case study, your role is an external consultant and you're working at an organization which is known as the Tran Art consultant. So that's the name of the consulting firm. Now, that means throughout the case study, I'm a consultant and I might be giving lots of advices and writing lots of reports to the organization. Let's see who is the organization which has hired me as a consultant. Assume it is March 20x2. So that's the date you can assume when you need to put in some dates or on the documents. So the date is the March 20x2. Suppose you're writing a letter or you're writing a report. So you can assume the date as March 20x2. The following exhibits have been provided on the left-hand side of the screen, which is relevant to the case study. Now we know that left-hand side of the screen consists of the exhibits, and there are like 7 exhibits given on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, every exhibit has a title, and that title helps you connect that exhibit with a requirement. Please be sure what each exhibit is telling you. The first exhibit is telling you an overview of the Yex Marine Company. So just a business background about the organization. The second exhibit is telling you something about the Yex Marine Company and its competitor. So if you want to know something about how much is the competition, what is the competitive environment, how is the Yex Marine Company operating in a competitive environment, all sort of that information will be coming from the exhibit number 2. And that's basically an article from a magazine. So this might be an industry magazine covering the competition inside the industry. Then there is a third exhibit, strategy committee proposal. So there is a proposal about a strategy committee, and that is the third exhibit. The fourth exhibit is about employee satisfaction survey result. So there is some employee survey results in the exhibit number 4, some overview of the investment projects the company wants to undertake. So that's given in the exhibit number 5. About risk assessment and mitigation, there is an exhibit number 6. And then there is a marketing service offer. So some offer on how would you market yourself in future. That's in exhibit number 7. And that finish off things. Just under 2 minutes, you know something. You are a consultant and you are representing a company known as the Tran Art Consultant. The name of the organization in the case study is the Yex Marine Company. Seems from the yacht business. A lot of information about the Yex Marine Company has been provided, and it is assumed, it is not assumed, it is very logical that Yex Marine Company has hired you or me as a consultant, and they want a lot of advices from us. Let's see what are the requirements of this case study. Now, this is the first 2 minutes. And you know who you are, you know the organization in the case study, and you know the number of exhibits the examiner has provided you. So the first 2 minutes is spent on the right-hand side of the screen. So just let me write it down on my Word file. Number 1, the first 2 minutes should be spent on the right panel of the screen, right? So I've just demonstrated that, how you should be going about spending the first 2 minutes on the right panel of the screen. Now you have 58 minutes. Let's see how would you go about doing that. Now you come back to the practice platform. Now on the left panel, you have 7 exhibits. Each exhibit has a title, then you have task, and then you have the response options. Now, first thing you need to do on the left panel is the reading of the task, understanding of the task, and what each task expects from you. And while you're reading the task, you are copy pasting the task on a word processor. So you are formulating one task beautifully. I'll just be showing you that. I think reading of the task and copy pasting the task on the word processor and setting the task and knowing what each task expects from you will take something like 15 minutes, depending upon the number of tasks you have. Currently, we have 5 tasks, so 15 minutes looks very appropriate. So first 2 minutes gone, another 15 minutes will make it somewhere like 17 minutes. So we have 60 minutes to go. So we have another 43 minutes after that to wrap up reading the exhibits. But reading of the task, understanding of the task, and copy pasting them on a word processor will contribute how effectively will you be reading the case study. And you will just realize the benefit of this exercise once we start reading the exhibits. You just read the task, you don't copy paste them, you don't analyze them, and you just jump into reading exhibits. You're not getting any benefit of reading the exhibits. Try to understand what I'm trying to portray now. Now, after the first 2 minutes, we are entering into the next 15 minutes. Let's see what we have to do in this next 15 minutes. I'll open up my word processor, and I structure my word processor on my right-hand side of the screen. I'm now putting my camera off because I need to show the demonstration. Okay, you can see the word processor on the right-hand side of the screen. And now I'll open one by one each task. I'll open my task number 1 and I bring my task number 1 on the left-hand side of the screen. So I can just copy paste the task to my word processor. So 2 windows at a time. On the left is the task, on the right is the word processor. And I keep opening, closing task 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The word processor will remain static on the right-hand side of the screen. So let's start the 15 minutes. From the paragraph, I'll click on the heading 2. So I have a big size of font to write in. It's up to you which font size you want to choose. I'm choosing the heading 2 because that gives me a big font size to write and show you. Okay, the first task. Yexperin Company Chief Executive is drafting plans to establish a number of board subcommittees to fulfill the business needs of the Yexperin Company, as well as meeting the corporate governance best practices. So the Chief Executive Officer wants to establish some subcommittees to fulfill the corporate governance requirement. The first committee he wishes to establish is a strategy committee, and he sets out his proposals for it. So he wants to set up a committee, which is known as a strategy committee, and he has shared his proposal about the strategy committee with you. Now, where is the strategy committee exhibit? You look at the number of exhibits, and there is an exhibit number 3, which is dealing with strategy committee proposal. So right over here, I write task 1, and in the bracket of the task 1, I write exhibit number 3. Most of the answer will come from exhibit 3, not 100%, but most of the answer will come from exhibit 3 because that is an exhibit which is dealing with the strategy committee proposal. So when I'm reading the exhibit number 3, I will copy paste information for my task number 1. Let's see what the task number 1 was demanding to us. He wants your review on the benefits of and the problems with his proposal. So he wants to know what are benefits of setting up a strategy committee and what are problems of setting up a strategy committee. So he wants you to do a good analysis of the benefits and the problems with his proposal. He wants your consideration of the problems to include discussion of any omission from the proposal. So he wants your consideration of the problem to include discussion of any omission from the proposal. He wants your suggestions. That is something omitted from the proposal. Do you believe there is something which should be in the proposal, but it's not in the proposal? So that's like the problem. So while you read the proposal of the Chief Executive Officer, you want to investigate the benefits of establishing a strategy committee and what are problems associated with establishing a strategy committee, primarily if something is omitted from the proposal, which can be considered as a problem, should be written down in your answer. This overview before every requirement you open in the SBL exam gives you an overview, and that overview tells you exactly what you need to do. So we know that we are a consultant. We know there is a proposal to set up a strategy committee. Now we need to evaluate that proposal, the benefits of that proposal, and the problems with the proposal. That's what we need to do. Let's see what is the requirement. Now I'll copy the requirement, write a letter. I just copy this requirement and with the professional marks, Control C, and I take it under my task number 1, Control V. Now just analyze it quickly. Write a letter. So I know, okay, I have to write a letter in the part number 1. Replying to the chief executive. So this letter will be written to the chief executive. So I know who is the audience of this letter, which assess his proposal to establish a strategy committee. So I need to assess his proposal. Now, assess means examiner is already giving us assess. Assess means the benefits and the problems to establish a strategy committee. The marks are 14. Now, 14 is a big number of marks for one subject matter. I just need to assess the proposal for the drawbacks, for the problems, and for the benefits. But that's one subject matter, strategy committee. So if I look at 14 marks and I look at the strategy committee and I divide this by 1, that means I need to write some 14 points on a strategy committee, which is too much. So in an exam, when you're looking at one subject matter, like benefits of big data, or like benefits of a strategy committee or something like that, and you believe this is one subject matter and the number of marks are too much, it is then recommended that you look at the 14 marks and you divide it by 2 per valid point. and you make it down to 7 valid points to assess the benefits and the problems. Now it's up to you. You want to write more benefits and less problems or vice versa, but there has to be a total of 7. You can have 4 benefits and 3 problems, or you can have 3 benefits and 4 problems. That's totally up to you. But you need to write a letter to the chief executive of the Yex Marine company, which assess his proposal to establish a strategy committee. And in that assessment, you are looking at the benefits and the problem, because that's what the examiner was telling us. Now, secondly, while we are writing this, we need to write a letter. Now look at the professional marks quickly. The professional marks are available for analysis skill. Yes, because we are doing the assessment right here. Assess means analysis skill. Now I always tell my student that examiner is not telling you this. It might be a repetition of what I've done in my June webinar, but just want to show you something here. Examiner is not telling you this like this. Professional marks are available for demonstrating analysis skill, full stop. This is not what the examiner is telling you. Examiner is telling you after the analysis skill what to do. So a lot of time the student asks, can you give me a definition of an analysis skill? Can you give me a definition of a commercial acumen skill? Can you give me a definition of a skepticism skill? What will you do with the definition? You just need to understand what your examiner wants you to do with an analysis skill. Because examiner is telling you in the sentence number 1, professional marks are available for demonstrating analysis skill. Look at this, in considering the benefits of and the problems with the proposal. So if any student is considering the benefits of the proposal and is also considering the problems of the proposal, you are fetching 3 professional marks. But if you're just looking at the benefits, not the problems, you're not doing analysis. Or if you're just looking at the problems, not the benefits, you're not looking at analysis. Or for example, you just wrote a long list of benefits, like 6, and just 1 problem, that is also not analysis. Your analysis should be balanced. For example, you're writing 4 benefits and 3 problems, or you're writing 3 problems and 4 benefits. It should be balanced. That is known as a good analysis skill. So is the examiner telling us how to do the analysis? Tell me, is the examiner telling us how to do the analysis? So if you consider the benefits and you consider the problems, that is meeting the definition of a good analysis. So if you do so, how many marks will you fetch for it? 3. Now what I have to do for task number 1? For the task number 1, I need to have 14 marks divided by 2, 7 valid points to assess the benefits and problem. I need to write a letter and I need to fetch my analysis skill. Analysis skill is equal to benefits plus problems. So if I look at the benefits plus the problems carefully, I will be fetching most of my analysis skill marks. So that is exactly what you need to do in terms of the task number 1. Now I'll remove my professional skill marks from the screen. Now this is my task number 1. Now, when I am reading the exhibit number 3, I will try to find from the proposal of the chief executive the benefits of this committee and the problems of this committee. And I'll try to fetch 7 points to write up my letter. And in the letter, I would be demonstrating my analysis skill. So I will be getting 3 marks from here. Now, one thing before I go on further, in the same way, you go to the task number 2. In the same way, you go to the task number 3. In the same way, you go with task number 4. In the same way, you go with task number 5. Now, just before I do that exercise, I just want to ensure something for all of you. If I go back to my Word file, where I will be writing what you have to do in the first 60 minutes, but on the other way around, on my next page, I would also be writing something which is critical today, and that is understanding the professional marks, because that's where I believe the success is in the SBL paper, not the technical marks, but the professional marks. How much you gain out of this is critical. So try to understand that side by side. Now, the first thing we're understanding for professional marks, each requirement in the paper will will ask you to demonstrate a certain professional skill, but the examiner will also tell you how you should demonstrate it. Examiner will not leave you blank, right? Examiner will say professional skill marks are available for demonstrating analysis skill, full stop. No. Examiner will say professional skill marks are available for demonstrating analysis skill in considering the benefits and the problems associated with the proposal. So if any student pick up what you need to do or how you need to do, you are fetching most of your professional skill marks. So I hope you're clear with the first bullet, everyone. So each requirement or each task in the paper will ask you to demonstrate a skill, but the examiner will also tell you how to demonstrate. Are you clear with this one? Please confirm me. But the examiner will also tell you how to demonstrate it. Is everyone clear with this? Looking for your answers, please. Okay, but is that what you will be looking for when you're reading the professional skill statement under every task, all of you? Will you be carefully looking at how the examiner want you to demonstrate it? And I will be doing it for task 2, task 3, task 4, task 5. So you're very clear at the end of the day, how would you go about demonstrating it? Because that's the critical success factor. Learning the definitions of the skill is useless. Learning the definitions of the skill is meaningless because examiner will tell you what you exactly has to do if you read the statement carefully. So that's number one. Second, look at this before we go back to the practice platform. With the marks allocated to demonstration of professional skills for each task does not, the marks allocated to demonstration of professional skill for each task consist of the following. Number one, the demonstration of the task, the demonstration of the skill itself, and number two, journal professionalism. Now, every time you want to fetch the marks for professional skills, they are consisting of two things, right? The marks allocated to demonstration of professional skill for each task consist of the following: the demonstration of the skill itself and the journal professionalism. Now, if any student, for example, the task number 1, and in the task number 1, we had this as the professional skill. Just let me copy the professional skill from the exam paper, because we'll just take this as one example and move out of it. Okay, this was the example 1 for task, right? Professional skill marks are available for demonstrating analysis skill, right? So you have marks for this. How many marks? 3. But in those 3 marks, you also have marks for journal professionalism. So for example, the task number 1 consists of 3 marks. Now, if any student considers the benefits, and if any student considers the problem, you will be fetching most of these 3 professional marks. But it does not only include the marks for demonstrating the analysis skill, it also includes marks for journal professionalism. So demonstration of the skill and the journal professionalism. So when I look at the 3 marks, what will be the breakup of the 3 marks? The breakup of the 3 marks will be your answer consists of benefits. Your answer consists of problems. Now I'm taking my marks. I'm taking my marks for analysis skill, but my answer should also consist of headings, right format used, headings, subheadings, subheadings, avoid repetition, and no para should be more than 4 sentences long. Now, this is known as journal professionalism, which examiner tries to emphasize a lot. Look at this. This is part of journal professionalism. Look at the first two bullets. The first two bullets are attacking what the examiner wants us to do, benefits and problems. So I am demonstrating my analysis skill in the first two bullets. But in the last 5 bullets, I'm just ensuring I'm using the right format, the letter. I'm putting the headings like benefits, headings like problems. For every benefit, I can use a subheading. Suppose you're writing a benefit, you first put the heading benefit, but under the benefit, you're writing the first benefit. You can give a subheading to the benefit, whatever that is. Avoid repeating, and no para should be more than 4 sentences long. So every well-developed point should be maximum 4 sentences long to fetch 2 marks. So is everyone clear that there are 2 things to professional marks? Number 1, the demonstration of the skill which the examiner is asking for. And number 2 is the journal professionalism. Will that increase your prospects of taking 3 out of 3? Tell me. If you follow this definition, will that increase the prospects of fetching 3 out of 3? I'm waiting for your answers. Are you understanding this? Are you understanding the formula of a professional skill here? So professional skill is not just about demonstration of what the examiner is asking for. It also includes the journal professionalism. So have you understood the task number 1, professional skill? Have you understood what the examiner was asking for and how to go about with journal professionalism? So I will not give this example again and again, but I'll just try to use the word journal professionalism wherever needed. So is everyone clear with the example? Will that help you down with all the other professional skills in the paper? So please be critical of looking for what the examiner wants you to demonstrate, and then ensure you are using your journal professionalism, right? Okay, let's move back. Second, task number 2. In the task number 2, you close the task number 1 and you open the task number 2 now. And you bring the task number 2 to the right, to the left-hand side of your screen. Sorry, you bring the task number 2 to the left-hand side of your screen. Sorry for that interruption. You open up the word processor again, and in that word processor, you bring it down on the right-hand side of your screen like this, and you open up the task number 2, you bring the task number 2 to the left-hand side of the screen, and you arrange it. Okay, let's see what the task number 2 is asking for. A very long introduction to the task number 2, and there are part A and part B. So 2 parts to the task 2. Let's see what we have to do. Ex-parent chief executive is concerned about the results of the recent employee satisfaction survey. So he's trying to refer to the recent employee satisfaction survey in this particular opening paragraph. So that means the task number 2, the answer of the task number 2 lies somewhere in the exhibit number 4, where we have an employee satisfaction survey result. So even without reading further, I know that the task number 2, most of the answer will come from the exhibit number 4, because that's the exhibit dealing with employee satisfaction survey results. He feels that a lack of motivation from the staff could jeopardize the success of the planned program of changes. He believed that the ex-marine company must fully utilize its employee skills and experience, and regards a high level of employee retention as a vital factor for his plans and expansion. The chief executive therefore believes that the board must address employee concerns and reward them as appropriate for the contribution to introducing the proposed changes. So it seems like that the company is about to introduce a change and there is some dissatisfaction among the employees, and you need to give some advice on how the management can overcome the demotivation or dissatisfaction among the employees. Let's see what's the first task. Task number 1, A. You copy this with the 3 professional marks, copy, Control C, you bring it under here, and you say task 2A. And the task 2A is this. Let's break that quickly. And then there is a task 2B, the task 2B as well. So we put the B and we copy the task 2B and bring it down on my word processor. B with 3 professional marks as well. Control C, and you bring the task B down. Okay, Let's structure them and see what examiner wants from the task 2. Now I'm closing my task 2 window because everything is on the word processor. Prepare a briefing note. So for the task 2A, I need to prepare a briefing note. Fine. For the board, the briefing note will go to the board, which advise on how employee dissatisfaction may impact upon each stage of the organizational change process. And try to understand, while we were attempting the task number 1, examiner was just asking for the benefits and the problems of establishing a strategic committee. There was no model, right? It was just a journal question. Now, sometime when you're reading a requirement, you feel like as if the examiner is trying to draw an attention to a model. But having said that, model isn't the best answer. It's not like if you don't know the model, you will fail in the SBL paper. No. If you don't know the model, but you can still connect the requirement with the case study and you can still produce an answer which is relevant to the requirement being asked for, you will still be rewarded, because SBL examining team is very clear that model isn't the best answer. But sometime when you're reading the requirement, it's very easy picking up the model being asked for. Look at this requirement 2A. Prepare a briefing note for the board which advises how the employee dissatisfaction may impact upon each stage of change process. Each stage of change process. Now, student sitting in the exam hall says, examiner wants me to address each stage of the change process. And how many stages of change process are there? There are 3 stages of change process. First, unfreeze, then change, then refreeze. Now, these are typical 3 stages of a change process. So examiner perhaps wants to know from a student the 3 stages of the change process and how the employee dissatisfaction may impact upon each stage of the change process. Now look at the number of marks. You have 10 marks. And when you look at the 10 marks and you make it versus 3 stages, now that means approximately 3 to 4 marks per stage. 3 to 4 marks per stage. Now that's quite a lesser number of marks per stage, like 3 to 4 marks per stage. Then you say, okay, I have a stage which is unfreeze. I have a stage which is change, and then I have a stage which is refreeze. And for every stage, I have roughly 3 to 4 marks because the total question is worth 10. And I need to advise on how employee dissatisfaction may impact on each stage. So for every stage, I need to see how the dissatisfaction impact on that stage. So how would I go about? 3 to 4 marks per stage. So roughly, I have 10 marks, which is quite a good number of marks. It's like a double-digit marks. So I look at the 10 marks and I say, let's divide that by 2 marks per valid point. So in total, I need to have 5 points under 3 stages. 5 points under 3 stages, linking employee dissatisfaction with each stage. So I can write like 2 points under the stage 1. I can write 2 points under the stage 2. I can write 1 point under the stage 1. The number of marks, 10. 10 is like a double digit, right? 10 is like a big number of marks. If I divide it by 1, that means I'm writing like 10 points, which makes my answer very lengthy. So looking at 10 marks, I say, okay, divided by 2, let's go down and stretch a 5 points answer under the 3 headings. So will I still be using the 3 headings? Unfreeze. I'll be using the heading change. I'll use the heading refreeze. And how many points I need to write under 3 of them? In total, 5. So for example, I can write 2 points here. I can write 2 points here. And I can write just 1 point here to wrap up my 10 marks answer. How the employee dissatisfaction may impact the unfreeze stage. How the employee dissatisfaction may impact the change stage. And how the employee dissatisfaction may impact on the refreeze stage. So I need to develop a total of 5 points. So the number of marks were 10. I divided it by 2. Had it been like 6 marks, I would have divided it just by 1. Because when you look at the number of marks like 10, 12, 14, and you divide them by 1, look at the magnitude of your answer. Yes, there are certain requirements, which I will be coming shortly, where even the number of marks are like 10, 12, 14, you still divide them by 1, but there is a logical reason for that. But over here, when you look at a 10 marks question, or in the task number 1, you're looking at a 14 marks question, and you're dividing it by 1, that is increasing the magnitude of the number of points you will be writing. And most likely, you will not be getting that much points from the case study. Is everyone clear with this situation? Prepare a briefing note. So what we have to do in the first requirement, we have to prepare a briefing note for the board, and which looks at the impact on each stage of the organizational process. Let's look at the professional marks. The professional marks are available for demonstrating analysis skills. So again, we need to demonstrate the analysis skill by linking evidence about employee dissatisfaction to the consequences of the change process. What will be the consequence? What will be the impact of an employee dissatisfaction on each stage of the change process? That's exactly what the question is asking for. So by linking evidence, where is the evidence? Exhibit number 4, about the employee dissatisfaction to the consequence. What does consequence means? Impact for the organizational change process. So what exactly I have to do? I just need to focus on linking employee dissatisfaction, with the impact on the change process. And I'll fetch 3 marks for that. So if I can link the dissatisfaction given in the exhibit number 4 with what consequences will it have on the change process, I'm fetching my analysis mark. So I need to investigate the consequences. I need to investigate the impact. If I'm writing my answer, but I'm not telling the impact, I'm not fetching my professional skill marks. So my focus has to be on the impact of the dissatisfaction on the change process to fetch my 3 marks for analysis skill. And I'm just removing my statement of professional marks again. Now, what I have to do for task number 2A? For task number 2A, I need to write my answer in a form of a briefing note. And the briefing note has to go to the board of directors. And in that, I need to write a 5 points answer looking at the change process and looking at the consequences of the dissatisfaction on every stage of the change process. Number B, prepare a letter. So this time I have to prepare a letter for the task number 2B. So the first thing I have to do is I have to write a letter to be sent by the chief executive to all employees. So a letter to be sent to all employees. So who is the audience? All employees. Okay, explaining to them the steps which will be taken to address the concerns. What steps will you be taking as a chief executive to address the concerns which they have about the proposed changes? What concerns? So you need to be critical here. Examiner is using the word steps which should be taken to address. Now we know the steps are like recommendations. The steps are like what measures will you take to overcome the dissatisfaction of the employees. So we have 8 marks. 1 per step is equal to 8 measures the CEO will take. 8 measures the CEO will take to address the concerns. How will you motivate the employees? What 8 steps will you take? Now, this was a question under 10 marks, a single-digit question, and focused on steps. Now, step means actions. What actions will you take? You can just write one action for like 2 to 3 sentences, not dragging it to like 4 sentences long, because you're writing a step. Step is equal to like 2 to 3 sentences long, not more than that. Even 2 sentences is fine. 2 to 3 sentences long, not more. So you're writing 8 steps. And in those 8 steps, you are trying to address the concerns of the employee dissatisfaction from the exhibit number 4. Professional marks are available for communication skills, because as a CEO, you are communicating to employees by persuading employees that Yex Marine Company will take effective steps to address their concerns. So you just need to persuade them. So you need to demonstrate the communication skill here, and you just need to persuade that the steps taken will mitigate their dissatisfaction. So you're just trying to motivate them that the steps I'm taking as a CEO will definitely have a positive impact on you. So just try to keep that tone a persuading tone that will take to mitigate their dissatisfaction. So you're trying to sell your steps. You're trying to impose your steps, and you're trying to tell the employees, see, I am a good chief executive officer. Whatever I am doing is for you, and I'll try to address your dissatisfaction so the change is implemented in the organization. So write a letter. Now, just try to recap. In the 15 minutes, you have to read the task 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll be doing another one with you quickly. But in every task, you need to look for the format. In every task, you need to look at what you have to do. Number of marks. Should you divide it by 2? Should you divide it by 1? And then you look at the professional skill marks, which skill you need to demonstrate and how you need to demonstrate each skill. And that sets the tone of one particular task, right? So that's extremely important. Let's do a quick recap here. We were writing here. First 2 minutes spent, then the next 15 minutes should be spent on reading the task and copy pasting task on word processor so to organize them and understand exactly what needs to be done. While you are copy pasting a task on word processor, consider number 1, which format to use, what to do. Example, explain the benefits, explain the drawbacks, or explain the impact on each stage of the change process. What to do, that is exactly the requirement. What to do. Number of marks. Should I divide them by 1 or 2? Number of points to write. Which skill to demonstrate, and how to go about it. And finally, journal professionalism. Leave the journal professionalism because that's something natural you will be doing when you're writing the answer. Look at this. Tell me, are you clear with the bullet number 3? Next 15 minutes. Are you clear with the next 15 minutes, what you need to do after the first 2 minutes on the right-hand side of the screen? And while you are copying, pasting the task on the word processor, what you need to consider. Are you all clear with this? Any issues, any questions you would like to ask for the first 3 bullets on your screen before I move further? Are you understanding? Are you clear with what is being guided? So see, the 60 minutes is a very good enough time where understanding of the task, and one thing which I'm missing, sorry, is that when you're copy pasting a task on a word processor, consider which format to use. Any particular exhibit with which the task relate to, Is that important? Have we already connected the task number 1 to the exhibit number 3 by looking at what was going on in the exhibit number 3, the strategy committee, and the task number 1 was asking for strategy committee? Did we link the task number 2 asking for employee survey with the exhibit number 4, which was about employee survey? You have to read all the exhibits, right? But at least when you come to the exhibit 3, you will say, oh, task 1. When you come to the exhibit number 4, you say, oh, task 2. Most of the answer will come out of there. So I think any particular exhibit which with the task relate to, that is extremely important because that will ensure you're reading the case study in a more effective manner. Okay, let's go back quickly and do one more exercise on the same phenomena. Okay, You get to the task number 3, and this might be the final one I'm doing before I leave things for you to be done on the same way so that you can practice the same way down. Task number 3, you open the task number 3 and you bring it down on the screen on the left, and you just try to copy the requirements here for 24 marks, and you have the professional skills for 4 marks. Okay, you copy the task number 3 here. Big requirement, 24 marks. Let's see what we have to do and what are the what exactly are the marking scheme here. Lots of things to be done here. Examiner has given us 2 breakups of here, 1 bullet and 2 bullets. Okay, that's exactly what is the requirement. And this requirement is focusing on Ex-Marine Board is considering 2 investment projects. So you are considering 2 investment projects. So let's see which exhibit is dealing with the investment projects. We close this requirement and look at the exhibit number 5, overview of investment projects. So the answer will come from exhibit number 5. Is this helping you all in terms of a reinforcement of what you will be doing on the day of your real exams? Exhibit number 5, task number 3, we picked that up. Now we have to write a report, number 1, a report to the board, which advises on the financial and non-financial benefits, drawbacks of each investment project, and recommends with reason which, if any, should be chosen. Which investment project will you be choosing, if any? Recommend with reason, not just recommending, I'll choose the investment number 1 or I'll choose the investment number 2. No, with reason, 24 marks. Now we'll look at the professional skill marks later, but let's see what is the marking scheme here. First of all, I need to write a report which looks at the 2 investment projects, 2 investment projects. Now I have a total of 24 marks. So after the 24 marks, I minus 2 marks. Why am I minusing the 2 marks? Is equal to 22 marks. The 2 marks I minus just for what? Recommend with reason which, if any, should be chosen. Now, after I do my analysis of the investment project 1, and after I do my analysis of the investment project 2, I will write a conclusion. And in that conclusion, I will give a recommendation that investment project 2 should be chosen and the basis of choosing it. 1 mark is for recommending and 1 mark is the reason. So 22 marks, 2 marks has been deducted for giving a recommendation at the end of the report with a proper justification. With a proper justification in a form of a conclusion. And we know the report has to end with a conclusion, right? So 2 marks. Now, how many marks am I left with? 22 marks. And versus 2 investment projects. 2 investment projects. Now, let's see how the marking will go in. Investment project 1, whatever that is. Investment project 2, whatever that is. See, I'm doing an exam paper. I don't know what is happening in the case study, but I'm utilizing my first 60 minutes. So I know at least the question is telling there are 2 investment projects. I don't know the names, but I can just refer them as 1 and 2, just to see how 22 marks will go down. Now, what I have to do for 1 and 2, look at the things. Advise on the financial and non-financial benefits and drawbacks. So for every project, I first need to tell financial benefits. Then I have to tell the financial drawbacks 2. Then I have to tell the non-financial benefits. Then I have to tell the non-financial drawbacks. See how many things the examiner is asking for. Reading the requirement carefully is so important. Examiner is asking for every investment project, consider financial and non-financial benefits and drawbacks. Now look at this. I've considered financial benefits. I've considered financial drawbacks. I've considered non-financial benefits. I've considered non-financial drawbacks for the project number 1. And how many marks I have from 22? 11 marks. Same goes with the project number 2. I have 11 marks for 4 things. For project 2, I need to consider the financial, non-financial drawbacks and benefits, 11 marks. Now, 4 things to be done under 11 marks. I need to consider the benefits and drawbacks. Now, under 11 marks, if you're doing 4 things, that's pretty less. So that means divided by 1. 1 per valid point is equal to a total of 11 points to write under 4 headings. 24 marks question, right? Under 4 headings. So for investment project 1, I have 11 marks. I divide that by 1. I get 11 points to be wrote under the 4 headings. I can write 3 benefits, financial. I can write 2 drawbacks, financial, 5. I can write 3 non-financial benefits, 8. I can write 3 non-financial drawbacks, 11. Now, you have 11 points to be bifurcated into under 4 headings. Now, you can write something more and something less, but you need to write 2 types of benefits, financial and non-financial. You need to write 2 types of drawbacks, financial and non-financial. And how many points in total should be under the 4 headings? A total of 11 points. But again, the length of every point should not be more than 3 sentences long. If you're stretching every point to 4 sentences long, that will make the answer very, very long in that case. So are you getting some insights from this task number 3? How much was it to be broken down? It was not just writing a report connecting with Exhibit 5. It was about advising on so many things. Look at the word and. Look at the word and here. And. Look at the word and here. And look at this statement. How critical is it to read a requirement? And this is what you're doing in the first 60 minutes. If you understand a requirement, if you know with which exhibit it connects with, if you know the number of points you need to write, you know the number of headings to write, isn't that making your life easier when you start copying the information from the exhibits and then start writing your answer? Will that make your answer proper, better, clear, complete? Waiting for your answers. Did you got the understanding of the task 3? How much was it to be broken down? Is everyone clear and sound? So see the amount of efforts you have to do in the first 60 minutes. And that is the reason I call it an investment. This investment will have a return. And the return in terms of you writing a complete answer. Now, if one student just overlook the drawback or the benefit in the task number 3, you might be writing an incomplete answer. Or if one student just overlooked the non-financial part, just write the financial part, you're writing an incomplete answer. And you're just writing one side of the picture, not the 2 sides of the picture, which the examiner wants to be done in the task number 3. So it's extremely important to read the requirements. Now let's go down to another one here. Look at the professional marks. The professional marks are available for demonstrating the evaluation skills by making justified recommendations which are based on a balanced assessment of both. If you make a justified recommendation, which investment project should be chosen, and your recommendation is backed by a conclusion, your recommendation has a basis, examiner will reward you 4 marks for just recommending with a balanced assessment which one should be chosen. So what is to be going down here? If a justified recommendation is made, which project to choose is equal to evaluation skill is equal to 4 professional marks. Isn't that something easier? So if you try to justify your conclusion, if you try to justify which investment project are you choosing and why, you're getting 4 professional marks for just that. And these 4 professional marks includes report, not repeating any information, headings, subheadings, ensuring no paragraph is more than 4 sentences long. These 4 professional marks includes the journal professionalism as well. So See, this is how you're going about reading the task. We have read 3 tasks out of the total 5. Let's quickly go down with the task 4. Task 4. Okay, you bring it down on the left-hand side of the screen. A task which relates with my syllabus area risk, because I am the one who teaches risk syllabus areas in my SBL course. Okay, let's see what the question is asking for. The question is asking for Yexmerin chief executive wishes to obtain an independent assurance that the company is taking sufficient steps to manage risk effectively. The chief executive has selected 2 risks which he has concerns and has asked the operation manager to assess and recommend how this should be managed. So there are certain risks where he wants your advice, and there are certain risks where he's not sure, and he wants you to give an independent advice on that. I think there is an exhibit dealing with risk assessment and mitigation, exhibit number 6. So task number 4 connects with exhibit number 6. Okay, let's copy the requirements and let's understand the marking scheme. Okay, we have 12 marks, a pretty lengthy requirement again. This is the second last one, Control C, and you bring it down here. Okay, prepare a report for the chief executive which evaluates the assessment made of each risk and its potential impact, comma, evaluates the adequacy of risk mitigating activity for each risk and recommends any further mitigating activity which may be required. Total of 12 marks, and then you have the professional marks available. Okay, so first of all, we need to write a report. If you open the exhibit number 6, in the exhibit number 6, we have just 2 risks. You can see right in front of your screen, the risk of flooding and the risk of product obsolescence, 2 risks, right? So that means we have a total of 12 marks that will be divided into 6 per risk. So we have a risk 1 and we have a risk 2, and I give 6 marks to risk 1 equally, and I give 6 marks to risk 2. Now let's see how many things we have to do under each risk. For risk number 1, first, we need to evaluate the assessment made. So we need to evaluate the assessment made for each risk and the impact. So evaluate, Control C. Evaluate the assessment made, number 1, Control C. And evaluate the potential impact, which the management has considered in the exhibit number 6. So one thing I have to do is to evaluate the assessment of the management in the exhibit number 6. Is it right? Is it wrong? Then I need to evaluate the impact of the management. Is it right? Is it wrong? So this is 2 things. Then further examiner says, evaluate the adequacy of the risk mitigating activity for each risk. The mitigation defined by the management, is it right? Is it wrong? Evaluate the adequacy of the risk mitigating activity. Evaluate the adequacy of the risk mitigating activity for each risk. Third, and recommend any further mitigating activities which is required. So evaluate, and then I have to do the recommendation. Recommend any further mitigating activities apart from the one given by the management. You just need to evaluate the mitigating activity given by the management. Is it appropriate, inappropriate? And then you need to recommend any further mitigation activities required apart from the one given by the management. So 4 things under 6 marks. Evaluate the assessment made by the management, evaluate the impact made by the management, evaluate the mitigation by the management, and then recommending your own, which one you choose. Now, if you look at this exhibit in front of you, this is the assessment of the management. Risk level, non-serious. So you need to evaluate this. Potential impact, you need to evaluate this. Risk mitigation by the management, you need to evaluate this. So there are 3 columns, and you need to evaluate each one of them, whether they're right or wrong in terms of the information provided. And then you need to recommend your own. So 6 over here, you will divide them by 1 mark each, because many things under 6 marks. So that's pretty shorter area. 1 mark each is equal to 6 points. Now the 6 points, it's up to you. How many points you write under assessment made, how many points you write under potential impact, how many points you write under adequacy of risk mitigating activity, and how many points you write under recommend any further mitigation activity. If you write a minimum 1 point under each, you're getting to 4. So under a certain heading, you need to write more than 1. You can write 2 recommendations. Even if you look at the risk mitigation by the company, there are so many risk mitigation by the company: insurance, local flood defense. So even if you evaluate each of the risk mitigating activity, you're getting more than 1 mark here as well. So it's up to you how you make up your 6 marks. Is that clear? And same goes with risk 2 as discussed in risk 1 above, Okay, professional marks are available for demonstrating skepticism skills for the first time in the paper by questioning the assessment of and the impact and questioning the adequacy of risk mitigation. So you just need to question management, that why you consider the risk to be non-serious, why you consider there will be a temporary interruption, why you consider insurance as a good mitigation. You're questioning management risk level, you're questioning management potential impact, and you're questioning management risk mitigation activities, right? No, Hafsa, this is what I was telling you. When the marks are less, like 6, 5, 4, 8, 9, we normally divide things by 1. And we also look at the number of things to be done. Now, under 12 marks, we had 2 risks, right? And that means 6 marks each. Now, automatically, when you look at 6 marks, that is a parameter in SBL to be divided by 1. 5 and 6 marks, we normally don't divide by 2. We normally divide them by 1. You had 2 risks, each of 6 marks. And under 6 marks, Hafsa, how many things you have to do? Under 6 marks, you have to do almost 4 things. So see, if you divide it by 2, what will you be writing? Nothing. So for 6 marks, if you're doing 4 things, look at the equation. It's better writing 1 point each. At least you can write something in your answer. But if the examiner is asking you, write the benefits of a big data analytics, 12 marks. Now, if you divide this by 12 with 1, you're writing 12 benefits of big data analytics, which is way too long. Then in that case, when you know, okay, I have to do 1 thing for 12 marks, it's better dividing 12 with 2, getting to 6. I hope you're clear with that, Hafsa. Okay, so I just need to demonstrate skepticism, that is questioning management assessment, questioning management impact, and questioning management mitigation. So I will question management risk assessment process as a whole. That's where I will be demonstrating my professional skepticism and fetching 3 marks. So if I challenge the assessment of management, if I challenge the impact of the management, and if I challenge the adequacy of risk mitigation activity by management, I will be fetching my skepticism as well for 3 marks, which includes the journal professionalism as well. Now tell me, are you getting clarity with how to go about reading the requirements? I'm left with the last one, and then I do my final summary and just then guide you how to go about further in the remaining time. Okay, just let's quickly do the task number 5. You open the task number 5, which is the shortest one with 1 requirement. Yexmarine Chief Executive is looking at the ways boats can be marketed. So there are marketed, and I think there is 1 exhibit which is dealing with marketing, which is marketing services offer, exhibit number 7. So definitely task 5 with link with exhibit number 7 for sure. And let's see what the question is asking for and close up the reading and planning for the task. Okay, I've just copied the task here, breaking down into technical and professional marks. Prepare a briefing note. So we need to write a briefing note for the board, which assess the benefits of using services offered by the advertising agency. Now look at this question, and Hafsa, look at the marking scheme now. It's just asking for writing the benefits of something single. Services offered by advertising agency. So whatever services are offered by the advertising agency in exhibit number 7, what are benefits to Yexmarine company? So each benefit will now be worth 12 marks because you cannot write 12 benefits. 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6 benefits of services offered by the advertising agency. What benefit will be to the Yexmarine company of the services offered by the advertising agency? How can they boost their market share? How can they boost their competitive advantage by availing the advertising services by the advertising agency? Now you need to write a report, and the report has to go to the board, which examines the benefits, right? Sorry, briefing notes, sorry. You need to write a briefing notes. Okay, professional marks are available for demonstrating commercial acumen by assessing how the service could enhance the competitive position. How can these advertising services enhance the competitive position of the Yexmerin company? So you need to demonstrate acumen in demonstrating acumen in how the services, how the advertisement services can enhance competitive position of the company. So when you're writing the benefits, you are thinking, how can this particular service results in a better market share, a better repute, a better outreach to the customer? How can you increase your customer loyalties? How can you increase your customer retentions? How can you increase your customer satisfactions? Because that will eventually help in a competitive advantage. So any student who links the benefits with a competitive positioning of the company, you are fetching the acumen as well. And that acumen is worth 4 marks. Now, there was an exhibit which was dealing with competitive position here. Exhibit number 2, Yexmerin and its competitor. So I think when you're writing the benefits of the advertising agency and you want to connect it with the competitive positions of the company, you can take hold of the information in the exhibit 2 as well, because it's telling you something about the competitive environment. And by the time you must have read the exhibit 7, you must have read in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So while you were reading 7 and you're writing the benefits of the advertising services, you know at the back of the mind the competitive environment from the exhibit number 2. So you can connect that, writing a wonderful answer. So commercial acumen and looking at the competitive positioning of the company in the task number 5. So task number 5, a briefing note. And in the briefing note, connecting with exhibit number 7. Then in the task number 4, we had exhibit number 6. We need to write a report. And in that report, we need to evaluate the risk and we need to demonstrate the professional skepticism, right? And a report writing was part of this answer. Report for the Chief Executive Officer. Report for CEO, right? Then in the task number 3, we had exhibit 5. Then in the task number 2, we had exhibit 4. And then in the task number 1, we have exhibit 3. Now, this all should take 15 to 20 minutes, but try to give me an answer before I get one step further. Reading the task, understanding the task, knowing what to do, how to write, number of points, how many points to make, what skill to be demonstrated, which exhibit to connect with. Is that something beneficial which will help you when you start reading the exhibits? Will that help you connect an exhibit and copy paste the information of an exhibit to your word processor? Are you finding some benefit of this analysis of the task which you will do in the first 15 minutes? Will that make you ready what you have to do in task 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? When you start reading the exhibits and you come to a certain exhibit, do you exactly recall, oh, this exhibit was for the task number 1 and I need to take the benefits of the strategy committee. I need to take the drawbacks of the strategy committee. Can you copy paste that? So try to realize the 60 minutes. I've just given you a definition of the first 20 minutes, approximately 2 minutes on the right-hand side of the screen and 15 to 18 minutes on the left-hand side of the screen, reading the task and converting the task into the word processor. And that's where you are taking 20 minutes out of the 60. 1/3 of your time has gone. Now you have 2/3 of the time to read the exhibits. I'm just showing you one example of that, and we'll go forward and construct the answer in the day 3 tomorrow. Okay, now listen to me carefully. Let's go back to the Word file. And we were looking at the first 15 minutes, or you can make it first 15 to 18 minutes, right? should be spent on reading the task and copy pasting the task on word processor so to organize them. While you are copying a task on the word processor, consider. Now, I hope you're clear by now what we have done. You are clear on now on the professional skill marks, that every time the examining team will tell you about a professional skill to be demonstrated, the examining team will also be telling you how you should be demonstrating. And that is critical. Now, just let me make one table. Then we'll just spend a quick 30 minutes on reading 1 and 2 exhibits, just to show you how you copy paste information from an exhibit to a word processor. And then in the session tomorrow, day 3, I'll be converting that to an answer plan. So just look at what I'm doing in the next 5 minutes. It's very critical. We were trying to understand something, understanding professional marks, and I just want to relate a summary here. Just let me make a summary for March, June 22 paper. And this perhaps will benefit you. This is what I foresee. Let's see if you give me the same answer after the summary is made. Okay, the task 1 was asking for professional marks will be available this way. So task 1 for asking this, and just give me 1 second. Okay, the task 1 was asking us to demonstrate analysis skill, right? Now, listen to me very carefully. Demonstrating analysis skill here, right? But the examiner was saying how, in considering the benefits and the problem with the proposal. So any student who will consider the problems and the benefits with the proposal will fetch these 3 marks. So let's make a column above and right over here, how, which skill to be demonstrated, and how. So which skill you need to demonstrate? You need to demonstrate an analysis skill. How would you demonstrate that? In considering the benefits and the problems with the proposal. So you will try to consider the benefits and the problem with the proposal given in exhibit number 3, and you will fetch 3 marks for this. Let's make a column on the right as well. And write here number of marks. The number of marks here are 3. Okay, let's go to the task number 2. Let's look at the task number 2A and 2B. And then look at the task number 3. Then look at the task number 4. And finally, looking at the task number 5. Task number 5. Okay, just let me give me 2 minutes so I can just conclude this off and we go to the next step. Okay, in the task number 2, we need to do the skills for analysis. So just copy paste that, take it to my word processor. Here, task 2A. This is what we need to do. Professional skills marks are available for demonstrating analysis skill. So that was the skill we need to demonstrate, analysis skill, but the examiner was telling us how, by linking evidence of employee dissatisfaction to the consequences for the change process. So the evidence given in the exhibit number 4, you try looking at the exhibit number 4, you'll try looking at the dissatisfaction of the employees in exhibit number 4, and you try to relate the dissatisfaction with the consequences. What consequences will it have on the change process? What impact will it have on the change process? So the dissatisfaction in the exhibit 4 and the consequence of that, or the impact of that on the change process. If you can link that down, you are fetching your professional marks here. I guess these are 4 professional marks here in the task number 2A. Let's look at the task number 2B then. In the task number 2B, sorry, there were 3 marks. I'll just change that. In the task number 2B, we have another 3 marks. We had task 2B. Professional skill marks are available for demonstrating communication skills. But again, the examiner was saying how? By persuading employees that the Experian company will take effective steps to address their concern. So if you can persuade the employees, because they're dissatisfied, right? They don't want to listen to you. But if you can convince them that the steps we are taking are the best for you, or the steps we are taking are the good for you, if you can persuade them, that will help you fetch another 3 marks here. So you need to look at the exhibit number 4. You need to look at why are they dissatisfied and what they want. So if you try to address their problems, if you try to take the steps versus the problems they are facing in the exhibit number 4, I think that will be the right communication. So if they believe the management didn't talk to them, if they believe the management has not given us any training, if they believe management has not given us any security, so you try communicating on those methods, then it becomes more relevant, right? Then it becomes more persuading, and then perhaps the employees will listen to you for 3 marks. So see, every time examiner wants you to want a skill to be demonstrated, demonstrate a skill, examiner will exactly tell you how would you be going about demonstrating. In, by. So that's extremely important. Look at the task number 3 then. In the task number 3, let's close it down. In the task number 3, we had the skill to be demonstrated was professional skill marks are available for evaluation skill for 4 marks. We go back to the word processor, task number 3, copy paste the requirement. Professional skill marks are available for demonstrating evaluation skills. Control X, Control V. We had 4 marks here. Available for demonstrating evaluation skills. How? By making justified recommendation. So if any student make a justified recommendation, which are based on a balanced assessment of both projects. So you must have analyzed the investment project 1. You must have analyzed the investment project 2. So when you recommend that investment project 2 is better than 1 or 1 is better than 2, you should give a justifiable reason why 1 is better than 2, or why 2 is better than 1, or why 1 should be chosen and 2 should be rejected. So there should be a justified recommendation coming at the end of the answer. That is a conclusion, right? And the investment project was given in the exhibit number 5. So the exhibit number 5 will help you take that recommendation, and you have to give a proper recommendation. Evaluate also means to conclude, right? So you're giving a conclusion as a form of recommendation. Okay, task number 4. In the task number 4, we had professional marks for skepticism because we need to challenge the risk management of the organization. So task number 4 had another 3 professional marks. You bring the task number 4 here. Professional skill marks are available for demonstrating skepticism skill. Then the examiner is saying how, like this, Control X, Control V, by questioning the assessment. So the assessment made by the management, you need to question that. Why they consider this risk to be low, and even questioning the impact. Why does the management think the impact will be low? Question them. And questioning the mitigation. Why they think insurance is a better mitigation? Why not anything else? So your tone has to be questioning, as if you are challenging the management, and you fetch 3 marks for it. And we know the answer here was in the exhibit number 6, where risk information was provided. So when you question the management, when you challenge the management, that is where you're fetching your 3 professional marks. So your tone has to be of a challenge. Your tone has to be as if you're challenging the management. Why insurance? Why low? Why high? That has to be the tone, right? And finally, the task number 5. In the task number 5, we had 4 professional marks for demonstrating commercial acumen, and you take it back to your Word file. And in the task number 5, you put professional skill marks are available for demonstrating commercial acumen. But again, the examiner is telling us, how would you be demonstrating commercial acumen? By assessing how the services how the advertising services could give competitive advantage to your experienced company by assessing how the services offered by the advertising agency could enhance the competitive position. So when you are writing the benefits of the services and you try connecting the benefits to the competitive position of the company, like market share, like customer loyalty, like customer retention, anything which can give them a competitive advantage because they're operating in a competitive environment, that information is given in the exhibit number 2. So you can blend the exhibit 7 with 2 to fetch the right perspective. And if that is the case, you're fetching 3 marks here. Let me count my number of marks here. 3, 6, 9, 9 and 4, 13, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I think I've just considered some marks wrong somewhere. The last had 4, sorry. The task number 5 has 4 marks. That makes the list going up to 20 now. Okay, fine. Now tell me, is this table becoming understandable to all of you? Is the examiner leaving you blank by saying, demonstrate this skill, full stop? Then you have to learn the definitions. So many students I see learning definitions of skills, going on the Google, searching what is evaluation, what is skepticism, what is commercial acumen, or reading the available literature from the SBL examining team. Every time, if the examining team is telling you this is what you need to demonstrate, will the examiner give you a clue, a hint of how to demonstrate and how? Will there be a clue? Will there be a hint of how to do it? Tell me. Are you clear with this, all of you? If you try to utilize that how, if you try to utilize the clue and the hint, will you excel in fetching 15, 16 out of 20 professional marks, all of you, with the journal professionalism, right? Tell me how clear you are looking at this summary table in front of your screen and thinking about how can you refine your professional skill application on Tuesday for your upcoming exams, waiting for your feedbacks. How clear you are. Has this given you some clarity about how would you improve upon your professional skills? Can I get replies from your side, please? Okay, so what is the transition? You are attending the day 2 of the webinar today, right? Before entering the webinar and now almost towards the end of this webinar, day 2, have you got some incremental impact on your understanding of professional skills, or you believe this has become better for me to demonstrate on Tuesday? Is that so? Okay, that's great. So has it been beneficial? That's my question. Okay, great. Okay, let's do one last exercise from where I will be connecting my day 3 of the webinar as well. And you will be getting this Word file with you today. So you can take a printout and go through and revising it, or do another question the same way, right? Okay, now let's go to the last one. Now you've taken the first 2 minutes. You've taken another 18 minutes reading the task and copy pasting the task. Now you're left with 40 minutes, right? The last 35 to 40 minutes of the 60 minutes you have to read and plan. You will now read each exhibit. You will now read each exhibit and copy any relevant information under a task in word processor, so that after 60 minutes gets completed, your word processor is the launch pad for your answer. Just read the last bullet in like 5 seconds and tell me what are you getting out of this last bullet. I'm giving you 10 seconds. Start reading the last bullet on your screen now. Your word processor is the launch pad for your answer. How critical that is. Now, after 60 minutes, when I start looking at my word processor, on my word processor, I have my tasks, marking scheme, what to write, how to write, right? But after 60 minutes, I will also be having some copy paste of information from the case study, which will help me translate an answer. Just for example, let me give you a quick example of that. Suppose, just to save my time in the conduct of this webinar, now I close all the exhibits. The only thing which will keep open in front of me is the word processor, which will always be on the right-hand side of the screen. See, I've not closed the word processor throughout the stretch of the session. So that's the most important thing, which is integral part of your screen and will remain on your screen. You open close the exhibits on the left side in the small space. Okay, task number 1, you need to write a letter to the chief executive which assess the benefits and problems with the strategy committee. That's what I have to do. So see, in the exam, I'm just saving my time. For example, I just complete my 20 minutes. Now I have to get to my next 40 minutes. So I'll immediately open the task exhibit number 3, strategy committee proposal, right? And I keep this on the left side of my screen with my word processor. I just zoom so I can read it better. And I start reading the information on the left side of the screen, which is a proposal to create a strategy committee, and see how much information I can dump in the task number 1 to make an answer for 14 marks. Okay, I'm reading, please focus. The exhibit number 3 on the left side. This is written by the chief executive, right? Confidential, dear consultant. He's writing it to the consultant and he's telling consultant, this is my proposal. Proposal for creating a strategy committee. Let's see why he wants to create a strategy committee, right? And I'm writing here my points. And these points will help me after 60 minutes to translate an answer. My point number 1. I'm setting out in detail a proposal to create a strategy committee as a board subcommittee. Fine. We know this committee works as board subcommittees. It will be separate to the committees which we shall have to establish when obtaining a listing. So this is first of all an incremental committee. So we know corporate governance recommends to have an audit committee, a risk committee, a nomination committee, and a remuneration committee. But the corporate governance also give us a permission that as per the need of your business, you can have more than 4 committees. You can have a CSR committee, you can have a committee for sustainable practices, you can have a committee for climatical risk, you can have a committee for strategy as well. So it will be a separate committee which we will be establishing once we obtain listing. So this is something incremental. Control C, Control V. Go down. Next, we shall be facing a number of major strategic decisions on product and markets over the next few years. So the CEO is saying that we will be having some very busy next few years, as we need to take some very important strategic decisions over the products and markets over the next few years. That's where the committee can help you. Control V, point number 2. You come down. We therefore need to ensure that we are spending enough time considering strategy, given the dynamic nature of our market and the need to anticipate rather lag behind our competitor. He's saying that we need a focus. We need a separate committee because we believe that we cannot lag behind our competitor. So there must be some competition in the exhibit number 2, which you should read out. And he believes that we need to take the right decisions at the right time. And that's where a strategy committee would be beneficial for this business. Control C, and we get another point here. 3 points. You go down. The purpose of strategy committee will lead to development of strategy and strategic decision making so that we can address the strategic challenge we shall be facing. And I'll question here that the development of a strategy and a strategic decision making is a task which is given under governance to the board of directors. I believe if you make a strategy committee, it is good, but it will also create a conflict of interest between the board and the committee, because lots of things the strategy committee is doing here is overlapping the role of the board of director, because the board of director is the one who eventually decides, who eventually takes decision. And the board might believe that my power is being impaired or my decision making is being impaired because the strategy committee is interfering in my matters. So I believe this might create a problem rather than a benefit. So the purpose of the committee will lead to development of a strategy and strategic. They will developing and they will take decisions rather than giving an input. We know most of the time the committee gives you a constructive recommendation or the committee gives you an input, but the committee doesn't take a decision. So the strategy committee will lead this process so that the strategic challenges can be mitigated. So I'm just copying this statement, Control C, putting it in pink and bringing it as my point number 4. Okay, membership. The members of the committee will be the chief executive, marketing director when appointed. So currently they don't have a marketing director. Technology director will be part of the strategic committee and production director. See, they don't have a finance director as part of the strategic committee. If you want to implement a strategy, you need to know your finance. You need to know your working capital. You need to know your long-term debts, your short-term debts. How can you take a strategic decision without a finance director? Even the HR director. How can you take a strategic decision without an HR director if you don't know the number of employees, the number of people, the number of employee workforce you will be needing in future? I think the two main elements lacking here, the HR and the finance. They even don't have a marketing director currently. So I think that by the time he is appointed, you cannot take the right decisions because the marketing director will be guiding you about what is the best strategy to advertise, to fetch the market share. So I think they have a missing element of a director who is absent, but 2 of the directors are not included in it. So I think there is a lot to criticize on the composition. So I'll just write here point number 5, composition, HR and finance director is missing. Plus marketing director is not available. So I see I have something 5 points to write up my answer. The main roles of the committees are as follow. Providing leadership, carrying out this and doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this. I do not propose to define how frequently the committee should meet, as it will obviously meet more frequently when major strategic decisions are required. Now, this is very important. He's saying, I don't want to put a timeline of how frequently the committee should meet, but they should meet when there is a problem. But I believe strategy is something which evolves. The macro environment keeps changing. The macro environment keeps affecting. The competitive environment keeps affecting. The strategy committee has to be on toes. Probably they should meet every month because the external environment, the competitive environment for any business is very vulnerable, is very rapidly changing. So if you're not defining the time to meet and you're saying we meet when there is a need, I think that will make the committee very casual, or you might not be very robust about the changes happening in the external environment, which can impact your future strategies. So I believe this is a critical point here. I'm just leaving some information just to save my time. But again, I'm just showing you how you should be reading informations and copy pasting them down in your points. And then you can stretch an answer later. And find that ends the complete. Exhibit number 3 close. Now, this is what I'm doing in the 40 minutes remaining. I read the exhibit 3. I got some points from exhibit number 3 from the CEO proposal, which will help me formulate an answer when I'm writing it properly after the first 60 minutes are over. Now, after the first 60 minutes are over, do you believe my word processor is the most important document for me? Will I need to go back to exhibits after 60 minutes? Tell me. Do I need to go back to my exhibits after 60 minutes are over? Everyone, after 60 minutes, do I need to go back and read the exhibits again if I forget something? Okay, after 60 minutes are over, do I need to go back and read the requirements again? No, my focus after 60 minutes has to be on one document, which is what? After 60 minutes, my focus has to be on one document, which is what? The word processor, right? And everything should be on word processor. My professional marks, my technical marks, my format, how many points to write, and the critical information. Now, if you can beautify your word processor in first 60 minutes, if you can put things down in an organized manner on my word processor. See this? At least this is very organized. I know this is task number 1. I know this is what I have to do in the task number 1. And these are the points I got. Now I go to the task number 2 in the same way. And then I go to the task number 3 in the same way. And when I come down writing my answer, I'll just formulate my answer. I'll say, okay, letter. And I put the structure of the letter. And then I start to write the letter, and I keep picking these points and translating these points either into benefits and problems. So once I write my answer, I'll simply delete these points from here. See, I delete these points from here, and this becomes my good answer. After I write my answer, everything from here gets deleted. And this becomes my task 1. Examiner will be so happy I've written such a good letter. But what was behind the letter which helped me wrote a good letter? What was behind the letter which helped me wrote a good letter? This, which was missing. See this. This is the important thing you've done in the first 60 minutes, which once you write the letter will be deleted. And you will write a letter here. Wonderful. But what is the effort behind the letter? The effort behind the letter was the information which I deleted just now. Are you getting this point, everyone? Are you realizing how to go about it? I will be converting the next step tomorrow, day 3, when I read exhibits, just like the one I read today, and I'll translate the exhibit into points. And those points will then translate into the answer. So I'll be writing an answer definitely for the task 1 tomorrow, because I'd already translated the points in front of you. I will also be writing an answer about the task number 3 tomorrow, which is about risk, which is a long question for, no, sorry, not the task number 3. I will be writing an answer for a task number 4, which is about risk. So I will be doing an exercise on the day 3, converting the exhibit number 6 about risk into the information points, and then converting this to the answer. And same goes with the task number 1. So at least 2 tasks, the task number 1 and the task number 4 will be drafted. And I will show you the way the information helps you translate a good answer. I hope you're all clear with that. So have you got some potential benefits today of the reading and planning time, the exercise you need to do under the reading and planning time? Are you all becoming clear with that? Are you clear what exactly you need to do in the first 2 minutes of the 60 minutes? Then what you need to do in the next 15 to 18 minutes? Then while you are copy pasting the task, what you need to do? And are you clear with what you have to do in the last 35 to 40 minutes? Did I give you an example of reading the exhibit number 3, the proposal on strategy committee, and how I translated that into my points? So a beautiful looking word processor will become the launch pad of your success. Now, listen to one final statement, which can be my golden words here. Again, I'm repeating it. The amount of efforts you do in the first 60 minutes, the way you organize your word processor in the first 60 minutes, the way you copy paste the information from the task to the word processor, the way you copy paste the information from the exhibits and connect them with task number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the first 60 minutes plays a crucial part in your success. Now, after 60 minutes, if any student is going back to exhibits, you are a failure. After 60 minutes, if you're going back to the task, you are a failure. In the first 60 minutes, I need to make my executive summary ready. I need to make my summary ready, which is my word processor. And if your summary is beautifully ready, wonderfully ready, you are not going back to the task. You're not going back to the requirements. For the next 180 minutes, you are on the word processor. See how easy the life is? After the first 60 minutes are difficult, right? In the first 60 minutes, you keep the word processor open on the right-hand side of the screen. And on the left-hand side of the screen, in the first 60 minutes, you're opening the task, closing, opening the task, closing, opening the task, closing. Then you open the exhibit, close, open the exhibit, close. So the first 60 minutes, that's like a lot of opening and closing. But in the last 180 minutes, you're sitting with complete relaxation in your exam hall, because in front of you is just one screen for the remaining 60 minutes. And that one screen for the remaining 180 minutes can be improved. You can just increase the size of the screen for the last 180 minutes, see, as big as possible. And okay, for the next 180 minutes, this is what I'm looking at. I'm not bothered what's going behind the screen. I'm just bothered about the screen in front of me. And I just want to rephrase things. I just want to rephrase the sentences. I just want to put the format of a letter. I just want to put the format of a briefing note. I just want to put the format of a report. I just want to delete the extra things I put down in the exhibits because I just want to formulate my answer. So in the 180 minutes, I'm on this document. Is everyone getting this? But for the 180 minutes to be on this document, do you realize how important the first 60 minutes are? Is everyone getting this point? So to be on this document for the remaining 180 minutes, how important is the first 60 minutes? But if in the remaining 180 minutes, you keep popping in and popping out of the word processor back to exhibits and back to tasks, you are a failure. If you want to be successful, make your word processor ready in the first 60 minutes for it to be delivered in a best manner, and you write a wonderful answer. Now, tomorrow in day 3, I will be guiding you not just about writing an answer, but once you write an answer, all extra information in the word processor, which you utilize to write a good answer, will be deleted. Agree, disagree? All extra information which you put on word processor, which help you write a good answer for task number 1, will be deleted. All extra information which you put in writing a good answer for task number 4 will be deleted. So once you produce the answer, every other thing will be deleted. So the examiner is looking for an answer on your word processor, not the effort behind the answer. But will you be rewarded for that effort? Yes, because you will be scoring so good marks in SBL. So is everyone clear with the session today? Is everyone clear? I'll be sharing this word processor printout with you so that you can take on another question on the same practice. And I'll be sharing this Word file with you and as well as my presentation. I hope this will help you. You can open up another question today and just try to go over in the same manner with another question so that you can understand the first 2 minutes, then the 18 minutes, and then the remaining 35 to 40 minutes. I hope you can practice this as guided you today, because if you practice it again, this will boost your confidence rather than you just listen to this webinar and you don't do it. I will prefer you do it once so you gain confidence. So was it effective? Did you learn something out of the day to today? And was it beneficial for all of you? That's more important. If I can just take quick answers from Aisha, Goreta, Hafsa, and many others. I think a lot of you have your nicknames here on Zoom, so it's not easy calling them out. So if you can just respond that the session was good for you or not. Okay, so will you practice another question on the same way today? Will you put a 60-minute timer and do another question for reading and planning time? Will you try to learn the steps and implement them on another practice question on the platform for in the same way? So do it today. And once I tell you how to write, then do another question tomorrow after the day 3 on the same way out. So I hope you get some fine tunings, because that's the mission of this webinar to success, to give you the fine tuning ahead of Tuesday, just to tell you, okay, this is the best you can do. And this is how you can increase the chances of improving your passing marks in SBL, not just looking at 50, but looking at 75, 76, 78. So many students have attained that. And it's so easy to attain 75 plus marks in SBL. It's just about ensuring that you're not losing professional marks. You're gaining confidence on professional marks. It's just about connecting your answer with a case study. Now, connection to a case study, writing a case-oriented answer, writing a case-blended answer is what I will be guiding you on the day 3 tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so very much of participating today in this day 2 of the webinar today, which was looking at the first exercise inside the March-June 22 exams. And we're looking at the reading and planning time. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I'll be looking forward to the day 3 tomorrow. And I wish you all a very best of luck, because exam is just around the corner. Tuesday, you will be sitting in the real exam. But I hope the words of the webinar, the reinforcement of the webinar will contribute a long way in your success in your upcoming exams. Thank you so much, all of you. And I wish you all success. This is your tutor Kashif Kamran signing off from SBL Webinar to Success Day 2 for September 22 exams, and see you back for Day 3 tomorrow. Goodbye, take care, and study effectively. Allah Hafiz.